Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us for a dearly departed special as we are going to have a look at who's going down. And there are some troubled managers in that picture because there's a chance, some, not all of them because there's 4 of them in the picture, but a number of those may or may not be relegated this season from the Premier League. Obviously doing my dearly departed work, covering Leeds and Aston Villa. They've been halfway up the table most of the season, so all good. But we've had a long look at the relegation picture, and 3 of my teams who I cover are currently in there in the bottom 3. So I thought with 10 games to go for the bottom 3, 11 for the 2 above, we would have a look and try and make sense of what may or may not happen between now and the end of the season. There is the current bottom half. I've taken that from Bet365. So they've given you their odds. Those are the odds for relegation, obviously, not for survival. You can see reading from the bottom upwards, Sheffield United are 14 points there. They're 12 adrift. 100 to 1 on to go down. West Brom 50 to 1 on to go down. They have 18 points, 8 off. Of course, I do understand that bookies' odds represent their liability, not necessarily the likelihood of something to happen. But these bookies don't build liabilities on dead certainties, and you would think with those 2 numbers, they may well be right. We'll move on and look at that. But the next 3 is where it gets very interesting. Look at that. 7 to 4, Fulham to go down. Brighton, 4 to 1. So that's considered unlikely by the bookies, interestingly, because they are a position below Newcastle. So we have Fulham 1 below the line on 26. Brighton 1 above the line on 26, but with a game more. And then we have Newcastle, who are 6 to 5. Now, again, we can talk about liabilities and things of that nature. Newcastle is a huge football club, and often, as it pertains to very well supported clubs, you'll see odds do strange things as more and more people get involved due to the profile of the club on betting. However, there is no smoke without fire. I'm not going to go up as high as Burnley. We're just going to concern ourselves with the bottom 5. I've just written at the bottom there, 10-year survival average, 36.1 points. So I've done my homework. I can even show you my working out there, which is beautifully scruffy on that pad. But I just get very bored of, 40 points to survive. No, it's not. So I've calculated the last 10 years. I've taken the 3rd bottom team and added 1 point on. Basically, that would be the number in all of those seasons it would take to survive. That number would be 36.1 points. So you're going to hear me mention that a fair amount, 36 points to survive as a 10-year sort of standard. It's a rule of thumb. It could be lower, it could be higher, it may be bang on. We will find out. Right, let's work up from the bottom. And there are Sheffield United. We can move through Sheffield United quite quickly because, as the odds would say, the chances of them surviving is very slim. They are 12 points off safety. They have 10 games remaining. You can see they're recording at the moment 0.5 points per game. So they're projecting only a total of 19 points across the whole season, which is way lower than the normal 36 for safety. Of the 10 games remaining, 4 at home, 6 away. This is quite desirable. There are only 4 top half opponents, and they do go against 6 bottom half opponents. However, the next 3 games, you get you get Chelsea, Sheffield United, you get Sheffield United, Arsenal, and you get Leeds, who are 11th. So the way you would want it is for to build up some points. You'd want to either spread them out or, frankly, have them nearer the end when maybe they've got nothing to play for. But we will see. So to reach the 36 points, which may or may not be the total, but is a good benchmark. Sheffield United would need 22 points from 10 games or 2.2 points per game. So that would be a 300% increase, basically 4 times more than over 4 times more. Look at 7 wins, a draw, and 2 defeats from the last 10 games to get to 36. And then you're hoping for a slip and a slide and an underperform at a similar rate from everybody else. So I think that's a fairly straightforward one to go on. West Brom, similar, but less so, but still fairly straightforward, I think. The one difference, I suppose, is anecdotally, West Brom are trending upwards, aren't they? Big Sam has got a couple of the clean sheets that he wants. He's kind of built a team. He's got them playing how he wants them to. That trend is sort of upwards. But as we know in football, the points normally come after all of that. Good ideas, good recruitment, good training, good performances, points. Everything needs to kind of be in place first. And then this may come a bit too late for Big Sam. 10 remaining for them as well. Need to catch up 8 points. And that's obviously assuming that the teams above them are not necessarily scoring very well. 10 remaining, 4 home, 6 away. However, for them, 6 top half opponents in there. Look, Chelsea, Leicester, Villa, Arsenal, Liverpool, West Ham. I'm sure Leeds away on the last day won't be a lot of fun either, unless you believe that Bielsa burnout actually exists, which most evidence tells us it doesn't. They need 18 points from 10 to get to 36 points, which, as I say, is the 10-year average that looks a fairly reasonable guide this season, I have to say. 1.8 points per game, or 5 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats from 10. And given there are 6 top half opponents in there, you would think, although Big Sam will probably have the trend upwards continuing towards the end of the season, that things may well come too late. By the way, if you look in the table as well there, I've got the XG projections and things of that nature. And the XG, and this is not all Big Sam's fault, is projecting that Sheffield United will finish in 19th and West Brom will finish in 20th. That, of course, is based on chances created and conceded. It's a bit of a tricky one when the manager changes, because we're essentially taking a long-term underlying number from literally a different person. So it does feel a little bit with Allardyce, considering the team's different and the style has changed, that maybe some of those numbers need to be parked. But hey, I'm using points per game, aren't I? Which obviously a lot happened under Bilic. So it looks like the bottom 2 are going in whatever order. And then it gets very, very interesting. So this is where we get to Fulham, Brighton and Newcastle. And you will see straight away, if you look at the XG numbers, the green squares at the end there, that Fulham's XG is the 13th best in the league. Incredibly, Brighton's is the 5th best in the league. Absolutely incredible underperformance, particularly goal scoring wise from Brighton. That's been known. But look, don't get too emotional about XG. I know it triggers some people into some very strange comments, but in the most simple terms, it does suggest a potential underperformance and possible trend up for Fulham and Brighton, whilst projecting a possible trend down for Newcastle. We're talking about Fulham anyway. Fulham at 18th on 0.92 points per game. They're 1 point off safety. 10 games remaining, 5 at home, 5 away, 5 top half opponents, 5 bottom half. And essentially, to get to the 36 points, they need 10 points from their remaining 10 games, which, when you actually look at a point per game, there's a reason these teams get relegated. It doesn't look that hard, does it? 2 wins and 4 draws with 4 defeats would get Fulham to 36 points. Will it be enough? Well, that depends on Brighton and Newcastle particularly, does it? Or an incredible surge from beneath them. What we can say about Fulham is I keep saying trend upwards. We're looking for trends upwards as the season goes on. We are essentially trying to predict the future here. And the comment I made a few minutes ago about the points come afterwards does seem to be happening with Fulham right now, as in get promoted through the playoffs, bomb out pretty much all of that team, work on developing a new team settles in, starts drawing, new team starts winning. That's what's happening now, and Fulham have definitely had a surge of points per game upwards. Will it be enough to get past Brighton or Newcastle? And we should also point out both of those sides have a game more. And the big elephant in the room, look in the bottom right of that screen. Last day of the season, Fulham versus Newcastle at Craven Cottage. That looks fun. So possible optimism for Fulham, although the projection does still have them in 18th, using exclusively XG. Let's talk about Brighton, who are 17th. Their points per game is just slightly better than Fulham's. They've got the same amount of points, but obviously they've played one fewer games, so it's 0.92 versus 0.96. Not much in it, let's just say. And if Southampton were to beat Brighton, then it would be exactly the same, wouldn't it? And we'd have that completely tied up. 11 games remaining, 5 at home, 6 away, 6 top half opponents. I draw your attention to the run-in as well. Look, West Ham, Man City, Arsenal, and then even before that, Leeds and Wolves. Does feel like Brighton might do with having a 2 or 3 point gap going into those last 5 games. To reach 36 points, they need 10 points as well from 11 games, which would be 2 wins, 4 draws, 5 defeats as a kind of illustration. This underlying idea that these numbers of Brighton's mean, well, they mean one of 2 things, don't they, when a team underperforms their numbers. A, they're going to start performing them, and the performances, the points will match the performances, and they'll start to get some more points and come clear. That's what the XG would obviously project. The other thing that happens, though, is if the wins don't come, the performances then drop down to the level of the points. Intangible things such as confidence and sort of mental fragility come into it. So Brighton could do with knocking in a few goals, let's just say. Look at their projected XG. You see 44.2 goals they've been projected to score with their the probability of their chances. They've only scored 27 goals. So there is the curious case of Brighton. And here come Newcastle. And it's quite easy to make some pretty reasonable arguments that Newcastle's trend downwards may continue. Why? Well, let's look at the numbers. So, 16th place, 1 point per game. We know 1 point per game is fine because in the end it'll get you to 38. And we know that on average over the last 10 seasons, 38 is having you survive. In fact, only in the 2010-11 season would you have been relegated with 38 points. It's been beneath that or bang on it. It was bang on it in the 15-16 season. Will they get there though? That's the issue. 11 games remaining, 6 at home, 5 away, 6 top half opponents, 5 bottom half opponents. But look at the last 2 games. Sheffield United and Fulham. That is after they play, get this, in a row, West Ham, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester and Manchester City. So if performances go perhaps as we think they might, there's a possible Newcastle slip of not many points, 6 games out with that 4-game run, and then some very big 6-pointers to end the season. That is if Sheffield United are even close. They may well be relegated by that point themselves. So to reach 36, they only need 9 points, which would be 2 wins, 3 draws, 6 defeats. But where are the wins coming from, is my question. Maybe at home to Sheffield United could be one if Sheffield United are already gone and trying out new teams. But sometimes hell hath no fury, like an opponent who has nothing to play for. They don't care. All the freedom in the world, and they go out and play their football. Now, the factor that we do need to talk about with Newcastle is where they've done well or better than everybody else is goals. And when I say better than everyone else, it's hardly a high standard because West Brom have only scored 20, Fulham 22, Brighton 27 and Newcastle 27. It would stand to reason that the less goals you score, the lower your team would be in the table. The lower your team is in the table, the less goals you score. It makes all the sense in the world. So Brighton, we know, have a low total because their finishing is bad or the type of chances they created, whatever theory you want to give to that. Newcastle were in a position where Steve Bruce had them defending well and they had a good striker. They had Callum Wilson. They also had Alan St. Maximin as well. And they had Miguel Almiron. They're all injured. So another reasonable argument you can make is that the biggest feather in Newcastle's cap was they had some good forwards. Well, they don't have any of them at the moment. I don't know when the 1, 2 or 3 of those are coming back. But it just feels like, and I'll say this in conclusion now, looking at that table, it does feel like Sheffield United and West Brom. Sheffield United look too far gone now. West Brom's improvement looks like it's going to become too late into the calendar. Then there feels like a pretty reasonable scenario of Newcastle's downtrend continuing, i.e. the 9 points they need from 11 games, they might not make. They may only win 2 of those and draw 1 and lose the remaining 8. And that would obviously leave them with 7 points scored and only 34 on the table. And then we're into relegation numbers, aren't we? There's an argument that trend down will continue whilst Fulham continue to trend up and Brighton's underlying numbers actually match their performance and they win a few games, which is, let's be honest, all anyone needs to do down at the bottom. But hey, they're down at the bottom because they can't win a few games, these teams. So, Sheffield United and West Brom look done. And it seems like there's a reasonable argument that it could be that Brighton and Fulham survive and Newcastle continue to trend down with that hard run and their forwards out. I'd be very, very interested to know what you think, how you think it's going to pan out. I have no dog in the fight here. I have no bias for or against any of these teams. So get your thoughts in on what I've said and how you think it will pan out. I haven't included Burnley, who are 16th, or anyone up. I think it's between these 5. And could we see Newcastle have another jaunt in the Championship? Or, because this is what it all depends on, will Fulham's trend up flatten off? If that happens, everybody's safe. Because as I always say, there is no relegation battle unless a team in the bottom starts to score some points and make a challenge. It's very tight. It's going to be very interesting. Get your thoughts in via the comments on, I can bring the screen up, dun dun dun, who's going down. Hope it's not one of the teams you support, hey? Let me know what you think. Get involved in the comments. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.